You will have heard in the last few years loads and loads and loads about the WEF, the World Economic Forum. But who are they? How did they come to be? And how come they have such a grip on life in so many countries and on government policies? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Hi, everybody, it's Crypto Rich. I'm not working with you to get rich with crypto in this video. I'm working with you to get informed and to stay free. I'm joined by Johnny Vedmore. He's a journalist and a presenter on TNT Radio, and he's been kind and gracious enough to have me on his channel several times. And I'm returning the favor. And we're going to be talking about the WEF. Now, before I introduce him, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, join my official Telegram announcements channel. And if you're watching this on YouTube, there might be things in here that YouTube doesn't like because they deleted one of my videos recently because I interviewed a scientist about climate change and they didn't like what this scientist had to say. So come and support my work on bit.ly/CryptoRich3Speak, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey, and it's not up there, and one day it will be up there, bit.ly/CryptoRichRumble. Hey, Johnny, thank you so much for making yourself available.
That's all right. I always like to have a chat with people, so it all seems good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Now, do you want to start by saying where people can find you and find your work and where you are and what you do?
Yeah, okay. Well, it's a complicated one. I'm currently presenting the Johnny Vedmore Show on TNT Radio, and I have many guests on. GMT time is 5 to 7 weekdays, but mostly I'm an investigative journalist. You can find my work at Newspaste. I've written for UK Column and Limited Hangout, a couple of other minor sites, and but mainly at newspaste.com. And there you'll find a range of work, everything from documentaries to long form articles. I do very deep investigative research. My thing is finding the information that no one else can seem to find, thinking about things objectively, not getting distracted by the parts of a story and telling the story from A to Z with all of the bits in between, not getting distracted when I get to C or D or E or F and going, oh my God, okay, I'm going to write the story now, try and find out every single bit of information I can find. And then you get from that, you get a beginning, middle and end. I try and tell people regularly, if they want to write, you want to research, you want to put down everything in chronological order, and then out of it comes the story, and then you put your opinion at the end. And that's really what I do. But I also do lots of other things. I do auditing. I make documentary movies, but auditing by police auditing, if you don't know what that means, or First Amendment auditing in the America, where you basically film police and do lots of public filming and keep our rights in that way to make sure we've got an eye on the people who've got an eye on us. But yeah, I have the Newspace podcast, which got to start up again. Newshound is a good show where I go through source material. So I do lots and lots and lots of different things, but you can find it all at newspace.com.
Right, okay, and I shall link to that, and also your Twitter and your TNT show, so people can go and follow that, and come and listen to me if you haven't listened to me enough on this channel. Okay, so one of the things that you have looked into is the World Economic Forum, how they came to be, and then also how come they have so much influence. And then also we may also touch upon that, the climate change agenda, because I think people think that there was some sort of great revelation when it came to climate science, that these scientists did these experiments, but actually it's far more insidious and devious than that, and has a lot less credible science behind it than anything else. It is a political movement, and we'll touch upon that. But let's start. Well, where do you want to start? Which came first?
Isn't it so? Well, the idea came first for political leadership programs, and really, where I started with this was I was sitting around a coffee table in Chile. It was summer, December in Chile because it's down there, and I was we were trying to work out. It was me and Whitney Webb, and she said, no one knows about Klaus Schwab's history. No one knows who his father or mother were. No one knows any of the information about the real rise of him. Maybe you should just go and check out who his family was. I was doing a lot of family history stuff at the time, so and a lot of my work revolves around trying to work out the hidden histories behind people. So Schwab didn't just go to Harvard. He didn't just go to Harvard, and then he'd already had degree after degree after degree, and he went and studied under Kissinger, and that was a course. He didn't go and just study a degree. No, he says, I was allowed to sit in on Kissinger's international seminar, and I didn't have to pay anything, and that was very nice. They let me off. No one paid for Kissinger's international seminar. No one paid for that because you were selected for Kissinger's international seminar. You were selected probably partially because of what your parents have done before you, but mainly because of his massive amount of degrees and the obvious fact that he was an academic. I discovered the Kissinger's international seminar in 1967, just as Klaus Schwab is leaving, just after Klaus Schwab's leaving. Ramparts magazine and New York Times in America are about to reveal that it was CIA funded between the years of 1961 and 1966 by 3 different conduits that included the Fairfield Foundation, American Friends of the Middle East, and the Asian Foundation. And this was really important. This was massively. Klaus Schwab had gone through a CIA-funded Kissinger course at Harvard. This was what Kissinger's international seminar was the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leader program. It was the original. They had seen that this sort of thing had worked over and over again in loads of different universities, especially in Prussian education system. There was a lot about lifting up certain people, people who were exceptional at academia. And so Kissinger's international seminar started off being 50 people of the highest educational degrees who were the most clever around would be invited to Harvard to take part in a summer school. It wasn't taking part during the time when the kids were in. Oh no, this was, you had to be quiet about this one. And at the start, yeah, I believe it was 50, raised to 200 within about 10 years. And everything would be paid for. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who's, of course, I think he was the fourth or fifth Prime Minister of Pakistan. He takes his daughter, Benazir Bhutto, when she's only 16, to Harvard. And he asked John Kenneth Galbraith, who he had met while JFK was going around, and here you go, JFK was going around India, and John Kenneth Galbraith was the ambassador of India under Kennedy. And Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had met him at an event in India, and JFK actually wanted to make John Kenneth Galbraith the ambassador to the Soviet Union. Everything that he did was always big, but instead he refused, and so he made him ambassador to India. And Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had met John Kenneth Galbraith, struck up a friendship with him, and when Benazir Bhutto was old enough, when she was 16, he took her across to Harvard. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto asked John Kenneth Galbraith, listen, hey, can you mentor my daughter? And John Kenneth Galbraith was doing all of this globalist stuff because it was just as the start of the World Economic Forum. It was about 1970, 1971 where Benazir Bhutto gets to Harvard. And instead, he puts his son, Peter Galbraith, in charge of Benazir Bhutto. Peter Galbraith, who ends up being the one who reads the eulogy at her funeral when she's eventually assassinated. Of course, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto soon after comes. It's really weird tale because he come in conflict in public with Kissinger because Pakistan wanted to be India to their nuclear program, and so in 1972 Zulfikar Ali Bhutto is pushing for the nuclear program. India achieves its first nuclear blast in 1974, so a couple of years later, and Kissinger publicly threatens Zulfikar Ali Bhutto about trying to get nuclear technology, while behind the scenes, the Americans are feeding Zulfikar Ali Bhutto a different type of nuclear technology they want him to work on. for making the bomb. So there was a lot in there with that. Zulfikar Bhutto eventually gets tried and executed. Benazir Bhutto is also later on, and this is very interesting, later on she's also accused of leaking nuclear technology to the North Koreans and Gaddafi and somebody else. I think it was Gaddafi and somebody else. And that looks like it was directed again by the American deep state. Probably because the more people who have nukes, then mutually assured destruction isn't just about two entities. There's multiple poles to nuclear destruction, and then nobody presses a bomb for sure, because you'd have to destroy that country and that country and that country and that country and that country. So it becomes a little bit hard to understand where it goes from there. And later on, there's another Club of Rome book that comes out that is where they say the enemy of humanity is man. That is a book where it's basically posits that they were thinking, how do we get people to react? How do we get people to do what we say? How do we get people under control? And we came up with climate change as being the best possible option because it scares everybody. But what people don't realize about AI, one of the sides is going to produce a significant enough AI that can, and this is really simple, really simple. We currently live what I was talking about in a dynamic, in a paradigm of mutually assured destruction. The reason why there's not a nuclear war right now is because if one person presses that button, the other person will press that button. What if you could create a technology, I don't know, like an artificially intelligent technology that could take over all of your enemy's weapon systems? Mutually assured destruction, that paradigm that's been there for all of that time, disappears overnight, and you are the winner of the globalist race. That's it. It's over. Your form of globalism is now in charge because you control all the nukes. You don't just control your nukes, you control their nukes too. And that's why the race to artificial intelligence is that. That's why it's leading to a conflict. That's why we're going to go into a global conflict, because whoever comes out the other side of this will be able to destabilize any nation on earth, will be able to take away all of their defenses, will be able to infiltrate every single part of their deterrence, of their weapons technology, of every single part of their lives. One ring to rule them all, and that's what we're currently heading towards. We're heading towards a technological arms race. So the World Economic Forum is it's just another organization that's leading us to here, and we're there now. We're there. We're at the point where this is what Herman Kahn warned about. He
Now, if you want to catch the whole conversation, go to bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey, bit.ly/CryptoRich3Speak, and bit.ly/CryptoRichRumble. There is a whole lot more in the long video.